up here, Ainsley, Costello, and OpenMike. We're going to do a little panel here about value for value music. Don't be shy. So what I'll do is, since we have one microphone, I will pass it down the line here. So thank you for coming up here tonight. On stage right now, 50 years of independent music business experience and a little bit of old school too as well. So I'm going to start with Ainsley because obviously you guys know she was fantastic last night. Thank you. And you can also notice that Ainsley here is Gen Z, which I love because we got to bring this to the space. And so I want you to explain real quick just what value for value is, because you're excellent at it. We saw you do it last night on the stage. And also, how can we bring Gen Z into this?
That's a really great question, and one that I've been trying to decipher for the past 2 or so years. But yeah, my name's Ainsley Costello. I'm a 21-year-old singer, songwriter, musician based in Nashville, Tennessee. So I'm super excited to be here with you at Nostr Valley. But yeah, so I think in short, what value for value means for me is that, so in the traditional music industry, over 5+ years of putting my music out on Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music, I only made about $750 across my 20+ song catalog. And then a couple of years ago, I stumbled into this whole space because I put one song called Cherry on Top on Wave Lake, and it became the first song to generate 1 million sats for any song ever. And thank you. And at the time, because Bitcoin was only about $25,000, $30,000, that was only about $300 at the time, but still that was enough to kind of hook me and say, well, this is more than I've ever made off of any song ever. So, it piqued my interest. And then, I fell down the rabbit hole and then found out what Nostr is, and I met all of you lovely people. But because Bitcoin is now consistently over $100,000, the industry standard in Nashville to create one song is just about $1,000 just to make it. That doesn't include mixing, mastering, photography, advertising once the song is done and ready. So it takes about $1,000 to create one song. Now, because Bitcoin is over $100,000, that original $300, that 1 million sats, is now well over $1,000, and that is the first time that I've ever seen a full recoupment on what I put into a song that I got back. So in short, that's what value for value means to me. Like, I gave you guys something of value. You found value out of my little revenge song called Cherry on Top. Take that, drummer in Nashville. No, we're not going to talk about that. You guys found value in that, and then you gave that value back to me, and that is so meaningful, and it's so valuable. And now I've, for lack of a better term, I've been trying to preach the gospel to all of my artist friends in Nashville who have had a very similar experience to me, where they've been putting music up, shouting into the void for however many years. And, I don't mean to be gauche when I say this, but I'm proof of work. I'm proof that artists can make a living off of value for value, off of micropayments, off of, any other term that you want to use to describe this space. So I would say that, that wasn't really short, but that's what value for value means to me. And then with the Gen Z question, I think Nostr is an incredible tool. I think the zaps and the micropayments that are just, woven into the fabric of Nostr, once the rest of, people my age kind of catch on to this. I was talking to Mandana and Ian last night, and they said something really powerful about how content creators today, it's unpaid labor. You said it way more eloquently than I just did, but I think when people my age who are consistently posting on Nostr and Primal and Damus and every Nostr client realize that I can actually get paid now the way that I felt when I got paid for Cherry on Top on Wave Lake. I think that's going to be, it's just so valuable, and it's really going to click for people. But again, we're still so early, and I think it's a matter of finding the right metaphors to describe it to people, and it's a matter of enticing them and, making it feel as I love all of my devs in this room, I really do, but bringing it to the mainstream, making it so that it's exciting and it's fresh, and people my age feel like, oh, this is cool, I'm in on the ground floor. And so I think we're still very early, but I'm really pumped to be a part of the early few with you guys. So thank you for having me, and I'm going to turn it back to you because I'm sure you have a question for Mike.
Always. All right. So Ainsley's giving you the 1,000-foot overview of when value for value goes really well for an artist. And so I think maybe the darker view of music business is going to come from OpenMike here. Like myself, in the traditional space of the music business, I want you to explain kind of what we need going forward, where we're at with value for value, and what needs to happen next.
Oh, give me the layup first, right? Yeah, so for those of you who don't know me, I'm OpenMike. I come from the live music entertainment business, so we're putting on concerts, promoting events, on the touring side. So a lot of the issues that Ainsley's talked about is specifically focused on the recorded music and the content and how to get monetized through the products you put out. And right now in the music space, because of those issues, going on tour and coming to venues like the ones that we operate are really the primary source of income. And it didn't always used to be that way. It didn't always used to be that you'd go have to hit the road and sell tickets to generate your primary source of income. And so now in the value for value movement, really what we need more passionate fans. We need more passionate musicians. This is a principle play, right? Like you have to vote with your feet, not just with your mouth. We all come out to these events and we're like, rah, 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 we love what Ainsley's doing. But you really got to vote with your wallet, and like what Next Block is doing to really try to get the circular economy going, get the people with the sats to spend them, but really to get the fans who are just normal music lovers. We have such an intense focus on the tech here, where we see the value of this movement from a very technical standpoint, and this is unprecedented. But we can't expect the average person to really want to go down that level of understanding. We got to kind of bury that level of technical expertise to the point where you can just say, I don't even know if I'm spending Bitcoin or fiat or what's going on, but this girl's kicking ass and she's doing something different than anybody else in the music industry, and I'm here for it. And so that's where I think, I don't even know if I answered your question. You just gave me a microphone and I started talking. But the value for value movement needs scale. To be very, very concise and simple, needs scale, and it needs results. When I go and talk to an artist, I need to be able to provide a compelling use case that's beyond just a philosophical theory and say, look, this is a meaningful revenue stream that might not change your life this weekend, might not change your life next weekend or next year, but just look at the long game and you can just see the results stepping in the right direction. And that's why I'm here, and that's why I think this is so important.
Thank you, Mike. OpenMike. All right, so I want to also talk about, like, we know what the problems are. We know what's dark in the music business. We know what's unpleasant. We know we have the rails built to fix this. We have apps like, all of the Nostr apps at large. We have Wavelake, where you can find her music. We have Fountain, where you can find her music. We have Mike's website, which is tunester.io, where we can broadcast stream a live Ainsley show, and you can send her sats. And it's, not just Ainsley. For my presentation, I shared some pictures of Sarah Jade. So we've had some good use cases so far. We've had some good success stories, like Sarah Jade playing in Phoenix, making $750 for playing 30 minutes of her original music at the time. Bitcoin has more than doubled in value since then, even on a bad day. So that's worth a lot more money now. And again, that's her playing her own original music, which is pretty phenomenal. So I want to talk about just some of the successes, some of our favorite moments so far of doing things on Tunester, Wavelake, and Fountain. And again, this is all open source, so you can build on this. So what have been some of your standout moments over the last couple years that you guys have been doing this? I'm about a year behind you both, but we've had some really good stuff happen.
I mean, I would say that I've been incredibly lucky to meet a bunch of really incredible advocates for this space. I mean, the first year that I got into this, I got into, the Bitcoin, Nostr, Wavelake, Fountain whole in July of 2023. And then in December of that year, Mike had me out to play my very first ticketed show at First Avenue in Minneapolis. And it was the first time that we had a live streamed concert where the artists were getting paid sats and Bitcoin and micropayments. And we did 2 nights back to back. And I don't remember the number, but we had some crazy number generated over both nights. Do you remember?
19 million.
19 million sats. So that was, a pretty high point. And then, 6 months later in July of last year, the Bitcoin conference was in Nashville, where I live, and I was lucky enough to play the Bitcoin block party. And continue to, evangelize and spread the gospel a little bit. And then in December of last year, we also played at Antone's in Austin, which, just as a musician, beside all the Bitcoin stuff, that is in a legendary venue, as well as First Avenue. So I've been really lucky to check off some traditional music industry to-do list boxes, and then also kind of bring the future into those main dreams that I had as a 7-8-year-old girl who just figured out I liked to sing and play guitar and write songs. And so I think the high points are when developers continue to reach out to me and they're like, hey, will you be the guinea pig? I'm like, yeah, put me in the little spinny thing, just let's go. And so we've really been lucky to have a lot of high points and moments that just continue to keep the momentum going. But I also think that as we were just saying a minute ago, to bring more people over, from the get-go, it has to be intuitive. It has to be any person who doesn't understand Bitcoin, who doesn't understand what micropayments are, who doesn't understand all the tech behind Nostr can just jump in and understand, oh yeah, I know how to use this. And I don't know if we're quite there yet across the board, but I have no doubts that we will get there sometime soon. And I think that's definitely going to be a high point when the rest of everybody comes over and we're going to be like, I told ya. So Mike, I'll turn it over to you.
All those events, right? The conferences, all of the Phantom Power events that we partner on. The First Avenue is very special for me, of course, doing it in my backyard. Antone's with Adam Curry, and just that was such a special bringing together of so many different types of people. And then the work that we do even outside of the direct, we love all y'all, but we need to get into. I always say we need musicians to pick up these tools, not these people to pick up guitars, right? We love our Bitcoin musicians, we love but we need to, what really will move, the launch festival, for example, getting out of our comfort zone where we're not necessarily sure if everything I say is going to get a round of applause, right? I think those are really important. Well, I know those are very important, and it's just incredible data points because this isn't received super well everywhere. And there's really, it's a perplexing situation because it seems so obvious to us. It seems like, yeah, why wouldn't? There's no risk. We're not selling you Bitcoin. You're just turn on the thing and see if you earn any Bitcoin. But the music industry has, routinely been screwed by all these new technological advances. Just go back. I'm in my mid-40s, so just rewind to the internet days of Napster, all these things, CD burning, Spotify, everything is hasn't exactly benefited artists. And so when you just present them the next technological solution to their problems, they're like, yeah, sure. Yeah. Show me your proof of work, right? Show me the results. So doing these events, launch with Phantom Power and things outside of like NEVA, the National Independent Venue Association, getting some good data points outside of our comfort zone, I think is going to be very important for our next step.
And I want to be clear here, this is for independent artists, right? So, this is for when you're like, I don't want a record label. I think that's most of us. We don't like big tech. We don't like, big media. We don't like the big record labels. And so we are wanting to kind of have this movement get picked up by, independent musicians, be very grassroots. And then also, as you mentioned, the fans, the 1,000 true fans model that we keep talking about, where if you get 1,000 fans who are willing to pay you $100 a year, you can have a career that is, you're not going to be a millionaire, but you're going to be able to support yourself. And to do that, we need to do that at scale. So hence right now, it's a very grassroots movement. And I wanted to kind of touch on something Ainsley and I went over this summer. So Ainsley played along with me, good sport, recorded the intro for our Soapbox Sessions podcast, right? And so in this moment, and I'm like twice her age, okay? So in this moment, she took my piece of writing that I wanted her to say about Soapbox Sessions, and she rewrote it, as well she should have, because I used the word freedom. And I think this is one thing that we have a kind of a perception in this community. We use words like freedom, sovereignty. We're talking how independent we are, how free we are. But Ainsley was like, hey, you want to dial that back a little bit. I wanted you to kind of talk about that, because there's a perception and stigma about Nostr and about Bitcoin. And I often think, I'm going to put you two on the spot here, I often think about throwing out the term value for value, because I do think it's clunky and it's a lot to explain. And I think it hinders us a little bit, and it may be a block. So I'm going to have you answer all of that in your own words now.
Yeah, I mean, definitely, I think when people hear the word Bitcoin, it's kind of synonymous right now with boogeyman. Like, people my age who, we've grown up kind of hearing about this thing that's just floating out there, and there's perception and this connotation with it that it's for like black market criminals and it's for all these things. And, because of, I think, the society that we live in, it's hard to break through those stigmas, and it's hard to kind of educate people if we're not, like, again, what Mandana and Ian were saying, this idea that our attention has been so commoditized, and so when anybody asks for any sort of our attention to learn about, what this new thing is that has this weird stigma, a lot of people are going to be turned off by it. And so I think that is something that would be handy when it comes to getting Gen Z over here, because I think Bitcoin and Nostr has been way over politicized as a super right-leaning thing or a super left-leaning thing. But at the end of the day, it's just technology. It's just something that's going to be used for the betterment of industries and the really broken and antiquated financial system. And so when Heather sent me that script, I was like, I know what people my age are going to think when they hear the word freedom or they hear the word sovereignty. And like, those are great words. And I think they're great words for a specific market and audience, because for everybody in this room, we're like, yeah, absolutely, those are the great words. But, my generation would look at the word freedom tech being like, USA, USA, hoorah, hoorah. Like, that's not exactly, like, Bitcoin isn't just a United States thing. It's like for everybody. It's so cool. A couple weeks ago in Nashville, I had the really great honor of getting to see the Unbanked film before it really kind of hit traditional, I was about to say before I hit movie theaters one day. But it was really cool to see how Bitcoin and Nostr are being used in marginalized communities all over the world instead of just, America and used as a political shill for right-leaning politicians or left-leaning politicians. At the end of the day, it's a technology that everybody can use. And I think by taking out those kind of inflammatory words that do kind of associate themselves with a certain political party, it's going to make it a little bit more palatable for everybody to come in. And I know that, a couple years ago, I'll be super honest, when I got into Wave Lake and I put my one song up, I was like, okay, this is cool. But like, I came into it with that stigma and that connotation of like, oh, what is this? And of course, I'm here now. I've put that all behind me. But I think if, those weren't some of the first words that I heard that were used to associate what this space is, I would have gotten it a little bit quicker than I did. And so because we're all of us, I think, in this room are kind of the first of what we're doing when it comes to music in Bitcoin or social media in Bitcoin. I think it's really important to recognize what turned us off and how we can flip that script so that everybody can come over again and it can be intuitive and people get it, and there isn't this straight up connotation with, oh well, it's this thing, I'm not going to touch that, because again, our society is like, if you breathe at something that we don't agree with, then you're canceled. And that's just not what this should be. I think this is, both Bitcoin and Nostr are tools for everybody, and they can revolutionize so many different industries. And yeah.
We'll pass it over to Mike to close it down now. Mike, the phrasing, value for value, what can we do better?
Yeah, I mean, value for value is great on an event-by-event basis. It's great on a track-by-track basis. I'd never recommend that an artist just nukes all of their other monetary streams and says, let's go 100% value for value, because that's just not, there's not the dollars there. Like, it's just the fact right now. In principle, you've got people like Adam Curry, who's been doing it for 18 years, and RHR, I think, some of these larger podcasts have been doing this for a decade, and they've got the base of supporters that can maybe make a meaningful contribution. But the lead time for that, for any newcomer to the space, to say you're going to be there in 10 years, don't worry. Like, that's not a real good, that's not a real good pitch. But yeah, to your point on the culture and your commentary on the vocabulary freedom, one of my other biggest concerns is what happened last November, right? Is we all, it was great to get the boot off the neck of our developers and get everybody more freedoms, to use the word, for developing open source software and not feeling like we're breaking the law using Bitcoin. But it has been a real step in the wrong direction in the artistic community, because I know musicians who won Grammys that I've had conversations with that are really into Bitcoin. They understand it, and I just directly asked, like, what's your deal? And he's like, well, my manager doesn't see the upside for talking about this. Like, why would I want to divide my fans? They can come. You can come to a live concert to get away from all this bullshit that we do online. And so why would I want to inject that into their experience and just draw a line in the sand when there's still such a misunderstanding about what Nostr and Bitcoin mean, which really is agnostic to any political thesis. It has very specific use cases for people who have specific political positions, but it's not exclusively for that one point. And that's going to be real hard. Like, as Tunester, I've gotten quieter in the outside world since the election, because I don't want to divide the people who do support it and say, hey, orange man, orange coin, like, what's up with that? Yeah. And that is, you just open up the newspaper the other day and there's articles about Trump coin and the monetization of that. And I don't have 45 minutes a pop to talk to people about why that's not Bitcoin. Like, it's just, that hand-to-hand combat doesn't work. So we need to be smarter, and we need to really think about how we're presenting this to artists and creatives. And a lot of the content here today is about the creator economy and circular economies and inclusion. And that's my little soapbox for that.
All right. Thank you, OpenMike and Ainsley. Music is one of the things that's going to help get Nostr adopted. So, all right. Thank you, guys. You guys can be excused now.